Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, I'm Matt, he's Brett, and so we might have saw a hint in last week was week 13, right?
13.
Yeah,
Yep.
we might have saw a hint or preview of a possible Super Bowl matchup between my Green Bay Packers and your New England Patriots. I'm just kidding.
What?
Our Green Bay Packers. And the New England Patriots. And I gotta say, I watched the entire game. I was entertained the entire time. It was really competitive. And I think the national media, not to get off topic here, but I know a while back there was this thing that the national media put out showing like which coaches get the most camera time versus coaches that don't. Number 32 on the list was Mike McCarthy. Okay? Now,
He's just not a photogenic guy. I can see why they don't want him on TV.
he just doesn't get a lot of love, and I really don't think he gets enough credit for being the offensive mind that he is, and he's starting to get that now after this last game against the Patriots. A lot of people were making a big deal after the game about Belichick kind of embracing McCarthy a little longer than he usually does with everyone else. Went to go find Aaron Rodgers and talk to him a little bit. And McCarthy said in his press conference what they said was between him and Belichick, which is rule number one when you get into that exclusive club, I guess, is not to talk about it.
Bless me, people.
But nonetheless, I mean, the game was awesome. I think, in my opinion, those are the two best teams in football right now. The Packers offensively are just really, really good. They found some defense to help them. And the Patriots are still really good offensively too. Man, it was a fantastic game. It was one of those games that's all about little mismatches here and there, and Belichick did a really good job taking away both Randall and Jordy, and then
For the most part.
unfortunately, and then what ended up happening was Devontae Adams, who's the third option, ended up getting 6 catches for 121 yards, and he should have had another catch for a touchdown that he dropped, but
That could have been big, too, by the way. I mean,
could have been.
that touchdown would have been a dagger, and then they have to settle for a field goal, right? And that leaves it still a one-possession game.
Correct. Yeah, that touchdown drop or that dropped catch was huge. But I mean, it was impressive thing to watch. And then the other thing McCarthy did was he is really good at it's almost like a chess match between the two coaches, and he got Randall Cobb in situations where he'd line Cobb up in the backfield, and then all of a sudden he'd split him out, and all of a sudden Cobb has a linebacker on him. That's a huge mismatch. Sorry, Rob Ninkovich, but he got torched a couple times. And James Starks too. He ran. I think it was a very similar play where both of them ran a wheel route. Different plays in the game, but they both had the same assignment and got Ninkovich assigned in man coverage, and that's a mismatch. The Patriots, much like the Packers, power running seems to be something they're not super good at stopping. As Eddie Lacy had a pretty good day on the ground. I thought Tom Brady looked really, really sharp. It seemed like there were just lots of times where he had the time he needed and got the ball out really quick, except for the one sack he took at the end of the game, which was a big difference maker on third down. He just held on to the ball a little too long and took a sack. But that's enough about my thought. What did you think of this game?
Well, I predicted the Patriots would win, so I was clearly wrong there. And I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. Definitely happy. And, I mean, I'd love to see these two teams play it again. If they made it to the Super Bowl, I think that would be probably just about one of the best matchups that we could hope for. You got one of the best quarterbacks of all time versus currently probably the last 3 years, probably one of the best quarterback in the league. Offenses that can score in a lot of different ways. Fun, occasionally exciting defenses, of course. With these defenses, too, it might be fun because you're going to get some points scored. Green Bay moved the ball a lot. They just settled for a lot of field goals down in the red zone, um, which kind of unfortunate. By the way, speaking of the defenses, Darrelle Revis, did you say he said he got pushed on that touchdown?
He says that Jordy pushed off. I happen to disagree, and I think that he just ran a really good route. Sure, there was a little contact, but I watched the whole game, and in my opinion, I think Revis gets away with contact almost every play. And like, he's a really good corner, don't get me wrong, but it just, I don't know, I just didn't, I thought it was a little unnecessary to call out Jordy when, I mean, I don't think Jordy had offensive pass interference. There was one play where Devontae Adams literally threw his guy way away from him and catches the ball, no flag, okay? And I'm just laughing hysterically because I'm just like, really, my Twitter feed's blowing up, and I think his name's Tom Oates. Is that the guy that works for
the State Journal
the
or
State
whatever?
Journal? He even tweets. He goes, "Oh, he's like, is that legal new rule or something? You can do that."
Maybe the Wisconsin Badgers receiver should start doing that in this game. But I mean, it should be good. I didn't get to see a lot. I unfortunately had to work here at, where is it, Best Buy? Is it over on this side? I was at Best Buy all day on Sunday, so I only got to see the last quarter. Not even the full last quarter. I saw, I think, the field goal and then basically Aaron Rodgers' clutch touchdown pass. And I said it on Twitter too. People look at Aaron Rodgers' record and come from behind wins, and they use that as like his clutch rating. Okay, well that's fine, but they still won this close game, and if he doesn't make a throw like that, they have a very good chance that they still might lose. I mean, that should still count for some of his quote unquote clutch. So I think obviously the fourth quarter comebacks are stupid.
I was ecstatic to see, because it was third down. We ran it the last two plays. I was like, I just want to see Coach. I even said it to my buddy. I was watching the game. I was like, I want to see Coach go 5 wide. I wanted to see him spread them out. Let's throw the ball. And all of a sudden, Cobb ends up in the backfield next. I'm like, oh, there's 4, but I didn't realize it was Randall right away. Then he splits them out. I'm like, oh, it's Randall. I was like, we have 5 wide, like I said.
And what's nice too is that New England pretty much brought 3-4 pass rushers the whole game. They didn't bring a lot of heat, which can be scary against Rodgers. I know historically he's been one of the best against the blitz. So maybe they were just afraid, or maybe they're just anticipating that they're going to run through the AFC. Green Bay is going to run through the NFC, and they'll just meet again in the Super Bowl and just have a different game plan.
I have to say, it kind of felt like the Patriots. It felt like they were playing not to lose. You know what I mean? Like they weren't. I feel like they weren't putting it all on the line. You hinted at Rodgers being really good against the blitz. It's like, what do you do? Like, if you give him all day to sit there, especially because, no offense, but our offensive line has done a fantastic job. I know in years past we've been hard on him, and I remember in the beginning of training camp, McCarthy saying like he thought this was the best offensive line group he had since his time in Green Bay. And at first I was like, I don't know about that. And at the beginning of the year, I was like, especially against Detroit, I was like, come on. But they have really gelled. They've really played great football lately. They got guys battling through injuries, like Josh Sidden and his toe, which I know it sounds like a little thing, but when you weigh 300 pounds and you're trying to play football, it's probably pretty painful. But nonetheless, they did a great job giving Aaron lots of time, and that's the thing. Like, what do? Like, you blitz and you lose. You sit in coverage and you lose.
Right, and especially because of Aaron, he can put that ball anywhere. So, I mean,
Yes.
Sure, with their corners, especially New England's corners, like you can take away probably 2 guys at a time with Browner and Revis. Like, you're not going to be able to test those guys a lot, so you're going to have to find other options. And that's fine because, let's see, did he have a touchdown to Richard Rodgers, right? That deep one?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep, I mean, that was a beautiful throw, and it was set up by another pretty big play in the passing game. That was like a 2-play, 70-yard drive. I mean, it's hard. You'll take away the outside guys, but with Rodgers, he makes everyone else a weapon. Like,
I don't know about you, but can you name another quarterback that plays football the way he does? I've watched a lot of football. I don't know. I really can't think of someone who is that athletic, moves around that well, can throw from just all sorts of goofy angles, and get the ball like right where it needs to be. Like it's unreal to me, like how he does some of the stuff he does.
It's almost like he's Jay Cutler but smart.
Jay Cutler, but smart. Hey, Jay Cutler went to Vanderbilt. What are you saying?
Right, and that's about as smart as you'll get.
Oh my gosh.
But for I don't know. Like his decision making on the field is obviously a little different.
Maybe he just didn't score good on the Wonderlic.
Maybe not, but he definitely. I mean, because I think Cutler's an underrated sort of athlete when he wants to escape and run. I think he led the league outside of like Mike Vick a couple years ago in rushing. Maybe that just said more about his offensive line at the time and what he had to do. But I mean, he's a pretty decent athlete. Obviously, got a great arm, and occasionally will make that sort of throw where you just say, "Wow." But I think Jay either just doesn't see things the way Rodgers does, or he just doesn't care. Like he's just like, fuck it, and just whips it to see because he knows his arm's strong enough, and he just doesn't do it right. It's kind of like he's got that sort of athletic ability in sliding like Cutler does, and stuff like that, but he sees the field a lot better.
He really
I don't want to say he's like Peyton Manning. I don't think he's still quite. Or maybe we just get caught up in Manning, flapping his arms and yelling out all this stuff that's supposed to be him audibling. Maybe, I mean, I know he does do that, but I don't feel like Rodgers does quite the same amount pre-snap.
He doesn't, but I think he does a lot more than he did in years past.
And it's usually pretty subtle.
Yeah, it's something like, if he sees that, they have the numbers to run the ball, then he's going to change the play to be a running play. And we did that against the Patriots. I mean, they want to play too high safety, then we're going to run the ball with Eddie Lacy.
Yeah. And I also thought it was funny, too, that you brought up coaching and, respect around the league from media or from fans. A Reddit user, I saw this earlier today, he basically asked everyone on the NFL Reddit website who their top 5 coaches were, and then, based on each position, they got points. Belichick was number 1, far and away number 1. He had 3 times as many points as anybody else. Number 2 was John Harbaugh. 3 was Bruce Arians. 4 is Pete Carroll. 5 is Jim Harbaugh. 6 is Chip Kelly. Then Sean Payton, and then finally you get to Mike McCarthy.
What?
Just in front of Andy Reid and Tom Coughlin.
Are you serious?
Serious.
Do they know what McCarthy's record is?
Well, if you look at all of these coaches, Super Bowl, working wonders in Arizona.
Why is John Harbaugh so high, and McCarthy's not? Half his team's freaking doing illegal activities.
I don't know why. Maybe he gets credit for having,
Why is Jim Harbaugh so high on the list? He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring.
Well, he's been to 3 NFC title games.
Oh, whoop-de-doo. Oh, come on.
That's gotta be worth
one this year?
Probably not.
And I thought according to you, he's got the most talented roster in football. So what the heck's his problem?
I don't know.
That's what you said at the beginning of the year. They have the best roster in football.
Their third-string inside linebacker is still the best inside linebacker in the game. I mean,
I have the best quarterback in football.
Well, that's true. If they could trade, send away Chris Borland and Colin Kaepernick and get in return Aaron Rodgers and A.J. Hawk, I'm sure they're still they're probably the best team in football too.
They're probably the best team in football.
Especially with, that sort of offense and the style that they used to have. I bet Vernon Davis would be happier. He'd be more of a weapon.
The receivers would actually get the ball on time.
They got Bolden, the mediocre guy, and they also got Stevie Johnson, plus Vernon Davis. They've got weapons. I don't know what their offense's issue. Well, I guess it's probably Kaepernick most of the time, but anyway, I just thought that was
Cortland. I tweeted Cortland about that. I told him, I was like, I just don't think Kaepernick goes through reads very well, and I think he's stopped progressing as a passer. I don't see any improvement at all from last year. In fact, I think I see him going backwards.
Maybe. Maybe his fundamentals are probably off. I know he doesn't always throw with like set feet and kind of like a 3/4 arm. I don't know. He's got a cannon though. That's all I know. Got a cannon. And I still don't want him playing Green Bay because he'll still run for 200 yards.
Yeah, we have an issue with guys like that. I guess we can move on to the 49ers and Seahawks game.
I was going to say, speaking of that, well, yep, this would actually be a good segue too. We'll talk about the 49ers and Seahawks. We can also talk about Jim Harbaugh. We'll just do that after we discuss 49ers and Seahawks.
Sure. Yeah, so did you get to watch this game, Brett? Did you work that night? I don't remember.
Was that the Thursday night? I watched some of that, I believe, online.
Oh, nice.
I believe I did. Was that was Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, I worked. I was at work till 1 in the morning.
Gotcha. Well, I watched the whole thing.
Speaking of Cap, he's challenging Richard Sherman, making some bad throws too.
Oof. I'm sorry, Cap is just not that good. Russell Wilson is light years as far as like going through progressions, keeping your eyes down the field. And Wilson just made some, Russell Wilson magical type plays where he scrambles around for 8 seconds and then throws back across the field and hits a guy. It's just like hits a tight end who then goes up the field. Oh, by the way, you just mentioned Chris Borland, so I can't let you off the hook without saying this. Dude, he got smoked trying to tackle Marshawn Lynch. I can't tell you how many times he ended up on the ground. It's a good thing he's so short, so he didn't have very far to fall, okay?
I think he had 3 missed tackles, which is really high. He still had a lot of stops, too. I don't know if that's how they drop the offense or defense, or if he's just there before everyone else, but he's definitely in position to at least make a play. And yeah, a couple of those times didn't quite work out so well for him, but I'd much rather have him get, say, run over than be nowhere to be found if I had to choose.
There was
obviously
that.
The tackle, but
he was also missing in coverage. Granted, coverage breaks down when Russell Wilson's scrambling around for 8 seconds, but he let the tight end go, and then he was busy chasing after him. Whoops.
Was that the big play? The 63-yarder?
I don't know if it was necessarily that play. I just remember one play where Wilson got away, and Borland saw where he was going, but he was too late to do anything about it.
And, I mean, that you said, too. When a play breaks down and you got Russ Wilson running around,
it's hard.
At some point, you're not going to be able to cover that whole time. It's just not going to happen.
Doesn't matter what secondary, what linebacker. You could be against the Seahawks defense, and that would be an issue. Like, it's just it puts a lot of strain on a defense. Stuff breaks down, and that's how big plays happen. But I guess my other takeaways from that game were, and this is hard for me to figure out. And this next week will be a really good test. But the Seahawks just look so much better than the struggling 49ers because I think, the 49ers have barely been able to beat the Giants. They've just really struggled offensively, and they continued it against Seattle. I don't know if it's Seattle's dominance or if the 49ers are just struggling that bad.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, San Francisco still scored, some points against those other teams. They only got 3 against Seattle.
Eli had like 4 picks, and they still barely won the game.
But yeah, I don't know. And it obviously has a huge play, especially with a game I think we'll talk about it in a minute. No, I don't think we will. With the Cardinals losing, though, to Atlanta, right? Like, this game had a pretty big implication because they're only going to be a game back now. And the Cardinals' schedule isn't really that easy. They haven't been playing that great. So this was a pretty big game, I think, in terms of, one, at least putting yourself in position to be a wild card team, and 2, to get that division title.
Yep.
And then, while we're talking of San Francisco, too, why don't we just talk about fun, random guesses of Jim Harbaugh? Where'll he be?
Well, there's all sorts of. We kind of talked about it off camera a little bit that maybe he jumps ship or maybe he gets traded. It's probably the more likely thing if he stays in the NFL. Maybe he goes to Oakland. In fact, there was a thing going around today that I was listening to that was discussing would you rather have Derek Carr or Colin Kaepernick, which is also an interesting debate. But if you go to Oakland, you got some young pieces to build around like Carr and Khalil Mack. I know they're bad, but I bet a coach like him coming in would really get that program back on the right track. You're going to have a really high draft pick regardless, and you'll really you can build the team back to the way you want it. If he went there, I tell you, I think Oakland would be back on the map real fast.
They would certainly not be getting, a top 5 pick every year, especially because I think they'd have hit on their draft this year. As far as that quarterback debate goes, I think at this point we kind of know what we get in Colin. He's a guy with a strong arm, occasionally can make a really, really great throw, but he's not a consistent guy, and he can run around. I think with Carr, at least since he's a rookie, the talent's there. Now you just got to try to develop it, and obviously he did really well with Alex Smith, the guy that many people had kind of written off, and made him some good money. Now that he's with the Chiefs, worked pretty well with Colin Kaepernick that first year too. So I think he could get Carr. Definitely, on the right track and, get his career on the upward swing. Top pick. Well, it depends on what happens. I mean, I remember, was it Gruden? Wasn't he traded for like a...
Gruden was traded for a pick, correct.
For which pick?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I think it was a high pick, though.
Yeah.
I think it was a first-round pick, actually.
I don't think Oakland would dare give that up.
No, not if they're anywhere near like the top. This was back a while ago. But listen, while we're on this, but you should listen to this and tell me what you think. So Kaepernick's passing numbers, 2,700 yards, 15-8 touchdown interception ratio, and 61% completed passes. And then for Carr, it's 2,400 yards. 14-11 touchdown interception and 59%. But so I know they're pretty close, but I just think Derek Carr has diddly squat to throw the ball to. Are you kidding me?
That offense in general is
his best receiver.
That offense in general isn't great. I mean, yeah, James Jones is probably his best receiver. They can't run the ball. I mean, San Francisco at least has that sort of threat. And he's a rookie, playing.
I think if Derek Carr was on the 49ers, I think he would be doing a whole lot better. But that's just what I think.
It's possible. I mean, the offense would look a lot different. They wouldn't run probably pistol type or spread type offense, but
that's true.
They didn't really have to do that with Alex Smith. They could because he's obviously a good athlete, but yeah, I mean, Carr's got to cut down on those picks. I think 4 of his 11 interceptions came in one game. I mean, it was one really bad game. But even still, after that point, it's like, okay, so you got 11 touchdowns or 14 touchdowns and 7 picks. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. It's not much different than what Cap's got now if you take out one game. But I guess Cap also had a bad game this week, so. It's a good question. Other than that, I don't think he's going to go to Michigan. I think he's already said he's not interested. In fact, I think both Harbaughs have said they're not interested in Michigan, despite both of them having been coaches in college before and being Michigan men. That Michigan job's going to be funny because obviously Florida's got their guy, Nebraska has their guy, so Michigan's like the big team left that hasn't got a coach.
They can hire me.
Right? Coach, I just want to get paid $300,000 a year. Okay, I know it seems a lot for a guy with 0 experience, but that's going to be a lot of money for coordinators. All right, I just want the best coordinators I can get, and we'll be fine.
There you
Let
go.
me be the face. How about that, Michigan?
What about other jobs around the NFL that possibly going to be open?
The Jets. That would probably be an opening. Well, it's not probably going to be an opening. It's going to be an opening. Where else might be an opening? It's really struggling. Carolina's really struggling.
Carolina, Atlanta. If Atlanta misses the playoffs, I bet Smith's gone.
The Redskins, but they just got some new coaches, right? Like,
Gruden, this is Gruden's first year, and he already talked management into letting him roll with Colt McCoy.
okay.
I don't know. I don't know if they fire him. Oh, Chicago.
Here's my thing with the Bears. I don't know if they should fire their coach.
Dude, they're going to fire Trestman. Do you know how bad the Chicago media is? He's gone. He's gone. You had back-to-back weeks where your team didn't show up, and you allowed 50 points in back-to-back. You're gone.
See, well, Trestman thing's always been, he's an offensive guy, right? Like, he's supposed to be an offensive sort of guru type. I mean, how well was it McCown? They were doing good.
So what's his excuse?
Their defense is pitiful. I mean, it's not a very good defense.
Points.
But yeah, that's true too. They haven't, other than that first quarter, I think last week they put up 14 in that quarter and then scored 3 points the rest of the game against the Lions. 14 though against the Lions is probably pretty decent, I guess, in a quarter. I don't know.
There's rumors going around that players in that locker room view him more as a coordinator and not as the head coach. I don't know, man. I think he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, and if that's the way management sees it, and they notice that the players kind of view it and think of them that way, you have to make a change. And
they need a strong, and yeah, they need a strong presence. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I don't know how many other spots are going to open up. I mean, it'll be interesting and kind of fun to see if they do pull off a trade with Harbaugh, because that's obviously a really rare thing where coaches get traded.
It's very rare. Correct.
Yeah, then let's see. Another game we got. This is a Thursday game again. Eagles and Cowboys.
Watch that whole game, too. I picked the Eagles.
Sat around all weekend. Dude, that Thursday night stuff, those Thursday games were brutal for me, other than the Seahawks one. But those other two I wasn't even close on.
Yeah, it was entertaining. Not to brag on my Packers, but yeah, Dallas, when you can rush the passer the way the Packers did, that really affected Sanchez, and Dallas just couldn't get after. Oh, and Dallas had a really hard time stopping McCoy, who actually showed up. So
would have appreciated that, 6 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, when I had him on my fantasy team. He does nothing.
Yeah, Sanchez looked good. And when he looks good, I mean, in that offense, it's hard to stop. I mean, they can just score like that. It's crazy.
My favorite thing about that, by the way, is like national media, especially like on Twitter, they were like, "Oh, hey, look, here's your reminder that Sanchez could be pretty good in a decent offense." I'm like, did you guys not miss the previous week where he was atrocious in that? It's like, okay, cool, he had another good game, but last week he didn't do so good, did he? The week before?
No.
Exactly. I mean, I'd like to say let's give it more than a one-game sample size of him being good, saying he's good.
Actually, I lied. I think he did do good the week before.
I thought they really struggled that week.
Are you sure? I thought they bounced back and beat the crap out of Tennessee.
Well, that doesn't count. Tennessee's garbage.
Yes, I know Tennessee's garbage.
Ryan Fitzpatrick just threw 6 touchdowns. If Sanchez didn't do that, then he doesn't count.
Yeah, he didn't do that. I know that.
Yeah, so let's see. Where were they at? Oh
yeah, God, Dallas man, laid a big goose egg or big egg on national TV.
I was thinking the Green Bay game, but where he didn't do so hot. Didn't he throw a pick 6 right to Peppers?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean you're right. Yeah, Sanchez and the Packers are clearly right now the best team probably in the NFC as far as playing is concerned.
The NFL.
I don't want to say that, even though I think that. No, but the thing is, we just said like Sanchez can be a good quarterback. It'll be interesting to see, if he can keep playing at a high level. Like he did against Dallas, who Dallas is a contender, and he played really well against them. I think it's absolutely hilarious, and I don't know if you saw this. So there's rumors going around that Florida is trying to get Chip Kelly, right, to go and coach them, and Chip Kelly's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, there's no, like, he has no interest in leaving and going to the college game when he's having success at the pro level, right? And so he said something in a press conference when some reporter asked him about it, and he said that he's like, oh, my pro style offense won't work at the college level. Trolling. He's trolling all those people that said his offense wouldn't work at the pro level.
That's funny. That's great.
I love that guy. I love Chip Kelly. I'm all in, man. I love that guy.
Hilarious. And I remember too before we were like, okay, hey, maybe teams are gonna finally figure it out. But my God,
it out, yeah.
If Sanchez can put up numbers, I mean, obviously opponent it depends on as well. But the guy's definitely worked out, and like I said in that little poll on Reddit, he was one of the top. I think he was number 6 or something. He was ahead of Mike McCarthy.
Gosh.
So yeah. Any other interesting games from last week? Game-wise, I mean, like I mentioned, Fitzpatrick went off for 6 scores. J.J. Watt doing his thing, even catching touchdown passes.
It's true.
That Chargers-Ravens game probably had to have affected the playoff race quite a bit in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually opened there's a chance of making the playoffs right now, and the Ravens with their loss puts them at 22% chance.
Wow.
I can't mess with the numbers now to see what would have happened, if the Ravens were to hold on after that game and how that would have affected things, but it obviously would have had a giant effect because there's so many teams that are 7-5 right now in the AFC, Ravens being one of them, that an 8-4 record would have put them in the playoffs as of today. Of course,
good point.
Now you got one of their best defenders in Haloti Ngata suspended 4 games for PED use. I don't know if you saw that today.
Yep, I did. So that's a big loss. I mean, we got a month left. They obviously are trying to get in the playoffs.
Yep, and he's got to be one of the. You don't hear a lot about him anymore. I know he got talked up a lot, a few years ago, but now I feel like he got talked up so much that people stopped talking about him. He's almost like he's underrated.
Yep. I mean, he might not be as good as he was maybe a couple years ago, but still, regardless, a pretty big loss, I would think.
Mm-hmm. And then
in that division.
In that division?
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, the whole controversy between do you start Manziel, do you start Brian Hoyer? The Browns decided that they're going to stick with Hoyer again. I remember talking off air with you, and you said that, well, you got to play Manziel, right? You pulled the starter. But
and here's the thing. I guess if it depends on what their thinking was, because you're right. I did say, hey, you pulled the starter, you got to go with Manziel now. Like when you put him in, I figured that would be like the changing point. But I mean, it's not like New England earlier this season pulled Tom Brady, but it was a blowout, so it's kind of like, okay, we're just not going to leave Tom out there. There's no point. If he gets hurt, then we're done. But if their mindset was they put Manziel in, I don't remember what the score was in exactly that situation when he got put out there. But if the idea was that they could come back, and Manziel gave them a better chance at winning, well, if he gives you a better chance at winning when you guys are losing, you should have a better chance at winning when the game starts out tied, right?
It's true.
So, I mean, I guess it depends on their mindset as to why they put him out there, whether just to get him, a little game playing time, so if and when he becomes the starter at some point, either at the end of this year or, next season, just to get him a little reps, or if it was like hey, we think he can win, and that's why you put him out, or just send a message to Brian Hoyer, hey, next week you got a half. If you're playing like garbage for that half, you're coming out. Step your game up.
That's true. I guess we'll get to see how that ends up turning out.
Who do they have this week? Oh,
they got your Colts.
Colts. All right. Well, maybe not a great week for them to try to see if it might be high scoring. It depends on which Colts defense shows up.
That's true.
But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up where we were at in terms of reviewing last week. Yeah, I do think this is kind of funny, though completely meaningless. We missed the first 2 weeks on our pick'em, uh, but right now I have 103 correct. You have 100, and let's just say those first 2 weeks we got 9 and 10 right, so that'd be an extra 19 correct. That would put us at 122 and 119. We would have better pick'em records than Mike Golick, Merrill Hodge, Mortensen, Schefter, Mike Ditka, and Keyshawn Johnson. We're better than all those guys in terms of pick'em goes, so that kind of makes me happy. Um, we're still worse than the average fan though, who has 130 correct. So maybe we're not quite as smart as we thought we were. Who knows?
Oh,
But
actually, in the pick'em that I started at week 1, I have 119. That's funny.
see, you got 10 and 9, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's see. This week we just mentioned it. They get kicked off here in like an hour and a half.
Yep. Tonight's game, the Cowboys and the Bears.
Who you got?
I'm taking the Cowboys, even though I don't feel great about it because Tony Romo is 12 and 17 in the month of December. Don't feel great about my pick.
Not great. They've also got 8 wins already, which seems to kind of have been their limit the last 3 years. So maybe they'll just go 0-4 to end the season.
They really might.
Which would be hilarious considering they were like 6-1 at one point.
Yep.
But yeah, they're the better team. I mean, I know they're on the road. It's in a cold place.
Tony Romo.
Tony Romo.
Take the Bears.
The Bears offense might get on track in this, but I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. They are the better team.
You said off camera you're gonna take the Bears. Oh my gosh.
I was just kidding off camera. This is when it matters.
Gosh.
Steelers. Right, so we got. All right, a big AFC showdown there, AFC North anyway. These teams, all of them, they're just so darn wishy-washy, flippy-floppy, it's hard to pick. I'm going to pick, and I'm only picking them because they're the home team, but I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
I am also taking Cincinnati. Yep. The Steelers just are not that good of a team, and that could end bad. Rams and Redskins. I will go first. I'm going to take the Washington Redskins.
Why? Are you a big Colt McCoy fan?
No, I hate that guy, but I gotta pick an upset somewhere.
I'm gonna just continue to pick teams that win. I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Next up we have the Giants and Titans.
Oh my God! Talk about two very poor teams.
They're both bad.
Yes, just not good. Now they are jostling right now for draft stock, so maybe this is a game where we'll see who can play the worst. The Titans got 2 wins, the Giants have 3, so this is a big game in terms of determining draft order. I don't think, I honestly don't think anyone's going to try to tank. I think the Giants, man, I'm going to go with the Giants though.
Taking the Giants as well. We have the Jets at the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take after what I've seen, and Rex Ryan. Remember early in Rex Ryan's tenure, he was like a fat, happy, jolly guy in his press conferences and everything, making jokes. What happened last week was, they were embarrassed. They were in position to win and blew that game. Was that just Monday night, right?
Yep.
He's just not the same. Now maybe he'll fire the team up for kind of one last hoorah sort of thing and say thanks, I guess, for trying. But let's be honest, I'd rather have Teddy Bridgewater than I'd rather have Geno Smith right now. So, yeah, gonna go with Minnesota.
That's true. We're starting to get in some picks where we might have some differences. This one's a tight one. Both teams fighting for playoff spot. The Ravens at the Dolphins.
I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins.
I'm taking the Ravens, and I kind of wish I would have chosen the Dolphins. But I'm taking the Ravens. We have your Indianapolis Colts going against the Cleveland Browns.
Colts. Yeah, Colts.
You sure,
Colts.
Brett? Are you sure?
I'm fairly certain. I know you're trying to talk me out of it because you are going with the Colts and you got to make points up somewhere, but the Colts are going to win that game. And if it means anything to them, the playoffs and like trying to prove any sort of point, I mean, I know it's Cleveland, but Cleveland's still in the playoff race too. This is a game that the Colts have to put them away and kind of get some separation in all of the in their division plus within the wild card.
It's true. Oh boy, these next games are not very competitive. Bucks at the Lions. I think we can both.
One of the worst teams in football versus on the road against a playoff caliber team. Pretty easy choice. Got to go with Detroit.
Taking the Lions. The Texans at Jacksonville.
You know, Blake Bortles looked all right a long time ago. Hasn't had a great season. Granted, that team in general is just not that great of a team now. I think they could be much better in the future. Houston's still in the playoff hunt. I mean, they got a slim chance. They got the lowest chance of any remaining eligible, not eligible team, but mathematically non-eliminated team in the AFC with a 13% chance of making the playoffs. They got to get this win, and they're just a better team.
Yep, I'm taking Houston as well.
Before we move on to the 4 o'clock games, we forgot Carolina and New Orleans.
Oh, you're right. My bad. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Carolina at the Saints. Taking the Saints.
I'm gonna have to take the Saints as well.
I hate the NFC South.
Yeah, it's so hard because none of them are any good. And it could go either way if the good grade A team shows up and the other team has their off day. But check this out: the Panthers right now are 3-8-1, and they have a better chance at making the playoffs right now than the 5-7 Rams, Vikings, or Bears. That's how bad that division is.
That's pretty bad. We might differ on this one. Next up, we have the Chiefs at the Cardinals.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I'm not a huge Drew Stanton believer. Granted, I don't know if I'm a huge Alex Smith and Andy Reid believer right now either, but
you know what? I'm going to take the Cardinals.
Is that what you submitted?
Different than what I made on here. Just
so is that the only one different so far?
Yep, that's the only one different so far. Next up, we have the Seahawks at the Eagles.
Seattle.
You're letting your emotions get the better of you here, Brett. Just because you like Russell Wilson.
I do like Russell Wilson. I also like their defense more than I like the Eagles' defense. Hey, Chris Maragos, how you doing? I know you're a special teamer mostly, so that's okay. In a game like that, I think they can at least try to slow them down, and I think they'll be able to score points on Philadelphia. At least enough to win.
I'm going to take the Eagles, which is also
another one different
I made on here. Just so everyone knows. So for the record, that's 2.
This one should be much easier for us both.
Oh boy, clearly we are. I'm just kidding. I can't. Taking the 49ers.
49ers. Yep. Also Buffalo at Denver.
Well, let's see. Oh come on. Take Denver.
Hey, I was just thinking maybe you would have gone with like an upset special, try to gain some ground. Of course, those are the types of games where you're more likely to lose ground if you pick, say, Buffalo or Jacksonville.
Yeah, at least I can make an argument for taking the Cardinals and the Eagles. Can't make any argument for taking Buffalo.
Yeah, we both agree then on Denver.
Patriots at the Chargers.
San Diego, hard-fought win last week, showed some toughness, but we just got done talking about it. New England, I think, is probably still the best team in the AFC, and this is a week for them to regain their ground after, last time they lost was, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, before the Green Bay one.
The Chiefs.
Yeah, so I think they're going to probably, kind of use that as motivation again and kind of reestablish themselves in the AFC.
I wanna
Just
give
pick
an opportunity for the Chargers to, attack a wounded animal right now in the Patriots. Nope, can't do it. Taking the Patriots. Can't do it.
All right, and then in
Final
maybe
game,
the
we have
setting Monday night game of all time.
Matty Ice versus Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field.
Green Bay. And it'll be one of those early season Thursday night games where there was like 40-0 at halftime.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm taking Green Bay. As much as I love Matty Ice, he couldn't beat Matt Flynn last year. I don't think he's going to beat Aaron Rodgers this year.
Step up in competition, just a little bit.
So picks we differed on were, well, should have been the Cowboys and Bears tonight, but I want to change my pick now.
Are there any others that you might be considering? Because this is our final. We lock our picks in tonight.
Yeah, we lock our picks in at the end of this. No, so our different picks are the Redskins and Rams, Chiefs, Cardinals, and Eagles, Seahawks. Right? Those are the only ones. Nope, and Ravens and Dolphins.
Otherwise, we both picked the Giants, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Chiefs, Cardinals. We both picked the Seahawks.
Yep. No, I picked the Eagles.
Yeah. So 1, 2. Yeah. See, there's an opportunity there for you to make up 3 or 4 spots. Also, an opportunity to lose 3 or 4 spots this week. We'll see what happens.
That's true.
As we get closer to the end of the year, though, these are like. They actually kind of make me nervous. Like, I really want to make sure I get these right so I don't have to drive to Wisconsin again.
You know what? I'm anticipating making a trip anyways. Mark it down. I'm changing my pick. I'm taking the Chicago Bears tonight. Mark it down. Taking Chicago.
All right, last minute amendment.
So you better write these down because I can't change the ones I already submitted. I'm not going to.
All right.
Everything's going to be right in one of these leagues.
Where the hell is a pen? Okay.
I don't like pulling the Skip Bayless and hedging my bets, but...
All right, so let's see. The ones we differed on, let's see.
Chicago and Dallas tonight.
So you go Chicago, I go Dallas.
And then the next
Cincinnati?
one... What?
We both took Cincinnati.
Yep.
You went
Redskins and Rams.
And I went Rams.
Yep.
Both took the Giants.
Yep.
Both took the Saints.
Yep.
You want to roll with your boy there, Cam Newton?
No.
Both took the Vikings.
Yep.
You went.
I went Ravens. You went
Ravens. We both took the Colts.
Yep.
Both took the Lions and the Texans and the Broncos.
Yep.
Texans, Broncos. You took Cards.
Yep. You took Chiefs.
You took Eagles.
Yep, I took Eagles. You took Seahawks.
Yeah.
And that's it for different ones.
And everything. 49ers.
Patriots and Packers.
Okay, cool. Everything's written down. We can refer to these at some point, but they are locked in. Ladies and gentlemen, locked in. It's a big week.
Let's make up some ground, and it starts tonight.
I got a 3-cushion lead. I anticipate it being about 5 after the end of this week.
I'll be so pissed if I lose them all. Oh my god! If I lose them all, I'm just gonna start shafting games.
just say quit. You're just gonna. In fact, we're gonna have to hold your birthday down here.
Oh my god.
All right, cool. I think that's all we got for today's podcast.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.